Yeah, 6 o'clock. Are we good to go? We'll call the meeting of the executive committee to order. Read the affidavit of posting. The agenda was posted in the office of county clerk on the 21st day of October, 2020. Notice was sent to the Westman Daily News, Express News, WIBD, WNBC Radio, WTKM Radio, My Community Now, Hartford's Times Press, Kewaskum Statesman, and Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Roll call, we are all here. Supervisor Kelling is on Zoom. We will continue with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next order of business is the public hearing. Mary, or you gonna do not Mary, Ashley.
The following budget summary is in accordance with Section 65.90 of the Wisconsin State Statutes. The Washington County Board of Supervisors will hold a public hearing on the proposed 2021 budget on Wednesday, October 28th, 2020 at 6 p.m. at 432 East Washington Street, room 1019, West Bend, Wisconsin. The proposed budget is available for public inspection in the finance office at the same address or online through the county website, co.washington.wi.us.
Okay, as the public hearing has begun, I will look for people that want to speak to the budget. Does anyone want to speak to the budget? Does anyone want to speak to the budget?
Did you want to operate?
Huh?
How do you want to operate? So,
You can come up to the microphone. Do you want him here?
Yeah, you need to speak into the mic.
Okay.
thank you, Brian Gellitz, Washington County resident. As I go through the budget, the one thing that stands out for me is an add the staff to one executive office, whereas all other functional offices have a decrease. And I'm struggling with understanding the need for that. While I read some of the rationale for it, I still don't know if I fully understand why a full new position is needed, even though 50% sounds like was being performed elsewhere in a different office. But what's that other 50% really going to do? What value is it bringing to the county as well as the county executive office? So just a couple thoughts. Thank you.
You want to speak to that, county executive?
During the budget.
Okay.
discussion.
All right. Do we need to answer the question or what's? Okay. Okay, is anyone else speak to the budget? Anybody else speak to the budget? Yeah. All right, press the button. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I can press my button now. Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you very much. I just would like, for anybody looking at the budget that might be looking or watching this online or may check it, I just want to make sure that it's clear if there could just be a quick explanation of the difference. And that is, if we look at the now therefore be it resolved under the 2021 budget appropriation, it starts on line 24. I'll read it. Now therefore be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Supervisors does hereby adopt the 2021 Washington County budget of $134,858,879, including departmental appropriations, revenues, and the use of fund equity as set forth in the attached 2021 budget and tax levy summary, all county funds incorporated herein. just before I continue quick with the question, I do want to thank all the people from the county, the administration, the staff. I think have done a phenomenal job. I've gone through this very carefully. I've been fortunate enough to ask the questions that I've had ahead of time. And so I don't have any questions I think that really need to be brought on the public. But that dollar amount, if you just continue down that page, it says the total levy, all purposes, is $38,661,377. It's underlined and all that. And I'm just curious as to the fact that because I've been asked this, and I just want to make sure that I'm explaining it correctly. You've got a budget of $134,858,000, and then the total levy of $38,661. Okay, there's a large difference there of about $100 million. I'm just wondering what specifically does the $134,858,000. I'm assuming that's all of the regular expenditures of the county plus all the unfunded mandates and everything that we have to possibly pay out. I know there's a lot of pass-through money from the state through the counties to individuals, and I'm guessing that is a big part of that difference between the total levy all purposes of the $38,661,000. So if you could just do that, so I'm able to make sure I'm answering that correctly to any constituents when they look at that page. I don't know if that would be. We have our finance person. Wonderful, thank you.
The $134 million number referenced is the expense budget for the entire budget. And if you look in the full budget packet provided on page 2, there's a 2021 budget and tax levy summary. That number is at the very bottom of the taxes column, or I'm sorry, the expenditure. There's all other kinds of revenues. So the budget you're passing is based on the expenditure level. It's just that of that $134 million, $38 million is covered by the tax levy.
Tax levy, and the rest of the money, I'm assuming most of that
Grants, fees.
grants, fees, and state money that's coming our way.
That would be part of the grants.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Super. Thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Anyone else to speak to the budget? No. Okay, the budget hearing is hereby closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Need a motion to accept. Motion by Tim, second by Chris. Any changes, any additions, questions? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. County Brownsfield revolving loan fund and assessment.
So you'll remember before the election that we had a discussion about doubling down on our brownfield program. And our state redevelopment committee has been working not only on that, but the continuation of our brownfield program, which we got additional money from the EPA and the federal government. We've asked specifically that we expound upon the brownfield program and elaborate on what the new program is going to look like. Both Deb Silsky, our planner, is here tonight, and Christian Chechlock from EDWC is here as well, if you have any questions. But as you can see in the packet, let me just pull it back up. Just 1 second. Sorry. Where can we put it? The management framework is before you for your consideration. This is one of the things that we spelled out, or that I had talked about, I guess, when we spelled this out earlier in the year. And so it's in front of you. If you have any questions, the experts who helped put it together are here to answer those questions, and you take it from there.
Supervisor Mahalik.
Thank you. I love how this fogs up my glasses here. Again, wanted to thank for all the work here. I do know that as far as brownfields grants, that the city of Hartford has actually benefited from some of the things that have happened in the past. I'm absolutely for moving this forward, and the $600,000 plus the additional million to go into the brownfields revolving loan fund. I believe this has already been passed by or looked at by the full board. If this is just a discussion item here, is this going to move to another action item because of the fact that the additional funds are coming out of the general fund? Is that why this is listed as a discussion item here?
The funds themselves have all been approved. You're correct.
Right.
That's right. What we had spelled out at the time and what we said we would do is come back to you with what the actual framework is going to look like. So you can see how the money will actually be working kind of out in the field. And so that's really what this is about, is the discussion. So it sees the light of day.
Well, I thought it was laid out extraordinarily well. So thank you. It's, I think, fairly self-explanatory. If you go through and read it, letting folks know the fact that this is for the private business. This isn't for necessarily doing it public, but for businesses that have been in Washington County for at least 24 months, have their headquarters here. I mean, it really does spell out the fact that the city, or excuse me, the county, sorry, got to put my other hat on, that the county is looking to do everything possible to make sure that we are moving forward regarding helping businesses get out from under brownfields or other folks that are looking to expand and have to deal with this issue. And that's why I think EDWC, thank you, Christian, is doing what's necessary to make it happen. I know it's happening here in Hartford, our slogan, and will hopefully be happening all over the county. Thank you.
Supervisor Barry.
Yeah, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is one of those great programs where we can see where various government entities, whether it's a municipality, the government, and EW, the Economic Development Group, EWC, everything seems to work. The gears mesh, it all comes together, and I think this is just an excellent program that, for heaven's sakes, yes, let's see this continued into the future. Thank you, sir.
Supervisor Schleifer.
I agree. It's a great program. We're doing developments. We're resurrecting properties that may be blighted, but at least they're where there's already infrastructure. So it's a win-win. But I'm a little confused. We had gone for a grant again. Did we get the federal grant again?
Deb, do you want to speak to that, please?
Tonight, I'll be applying for the fiscal year 2021 assessment grant. Last year, we applied, but we did not receive it. So now we're reapplying. We should know in May or June of next year whether we got that assessment grant, and that's for the $600,000. Last year, we also applied for the EPA revolving loan fund for $800,000, and we did receive that.
So this money is additional to the program
Correct.
to help it last longer, if you will.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
And one of the keys, and correct me if I go straight here, this is complicated. And you might remember, I think it was March, we tried to walk through this. There's multiple pots of money and multiple sets of rules. This really is your money, county, and your rules, which are slightly different than what the EPA's revolving loan fund will be. So it's the same. It's not quite a duplication, but we wanted to have our own set of rules that was clear. And if you remember back to the spring, there was some dissidence between the county and some municipalities that we felt it was important to have this documented, which is why you wanted it back in front of you. Did I put that right?
You did. Yes, absolutely. And I'll expand on that a little bit. What's really great about having the county, especially the county revolving loan fund and the EPA revolving loan fund, is that as great as the EPA revolving loan fund is, and it's wonderful to be able to utilize that, it comes with a lot of strings. and a lot of public participation, and a lot of information that is going to be out there in the public. And in talking with Christian and working through the eligibility and who would be most likely to use these funds, we really think that it's going to be properties that don't necessarily have an end user, municipalities that, you know, may want to be able to do some remediation on that site, even though there isn't an end user, to attract an end user because of all of these strings and all of this public participation, versus the county funds where that is going to align very nicely with developers that are just coming in. So these pots of money are definitely going to be used in different ways, and they're all going to work together very well. And yeah, we currently have the 4 pots of money, and then tonight applying for that assessment grant, that'll be the 5th pot of money.
Supervisor Bossert.
This is a good program. Anytime we're talking about public money, I think having accountability to elected officials is important. So when I look at the chart here, the way this is set up with accountability, if I understand this right, any proposal is going to come back before this very committee as an item on the consent agenda, which could then be pulled out of consent agenda for discussion if needed. And once approved by us, the county executive, who's also elected, would be reaching the final agreement on any proposed site. Am I understanding that accountability correctly?
Not quite. So, and I assume you're talking about this chart on the framework for the assessment fund? Okay.
Yeah.
The site redevelopment committee will determine the eligibility and will make a recommendation to this committee. And then this committee can determine that final, through the consent agenda, that final approval. The agendas for that site redevelopment committee, those will be distributed to the county executive as well as all of the members here. So you can, if you would like, attend that SRC meeting, because that's when we're really going to go through and go into the weeds of each of these proposals. The final approval for that rests with the executive committee, not the county executive.
Okay, the county executive is noted on here, though, specifically execution of the site access agreement.
Yep.
So is that negotiating the agreement, or is that
It's-
after we've approved it?
It's
He's
after.
over.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's after we've approved it, and that's actually current practice right now.
okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you.
I think a program such as this, utilizing already blighted or industrial use land and not taking away farmland is something that is very, very important here. Agriculture is big, one of our biggest economic drivers of our county. And if we save tillable and arable property and for farming, I think it's a good thing. So, okay, seeing that this is a discussion item only, we don't need any further action on that. Moving to action items, resolution 2021 budget appropriation. I'll need a motion for that. Motion by Supervisor Mahalik, second by Supervisor Schleif.
How would you like me to talk about it?
Yeah. Thanks.
So just a couple of things I want to point out from the highest of levels. This is a pretty exciting budget for a couple of reasons. When I came to the county in 2014, we had a planned budget deficit, meaning we were planning to use our savings account to the tune of $1.8 million to balance the budget. In the 7 years that I've been here, we set a goal, and I think 2 of you were on the board at the time. We set a goal to get that number down to 0. It was a 6-year plan. This is year 6. It's at 0 in the middle of arguably a recession. I think that's an amazing thing, and we're doing what we said we were going to do, which is really important to me. So that's cool. And second thing, once again, we're reducing the tax rate, this time by roughly 5 cents a thousand. If you look at the course of the last 7 years, we're dropping it by 62 cents. And if you think about that on a percentage basis from $2.86 to $2.24, that's pretty darn significant. What's more important than that, and I know some of you read the daily news relatively frequently. What's significant about that this year is that's not as common in local government in Washington County right now as it has been in the last couple of years. So in other words, if you live in the city of West Bend, as an example, we're helping keep your tax bill flat because not every taxing jurisdiction in your municipality is going down or even staying flat, just as one example. So it's even more important now, I think, that the county continues to be fiscally responsible in reducing that tax rate when other entities are increasing their tax rate for whatever reason. So those two things are exciting and new. I also want to take a moment to thank you as executive committee specifically, because never before, at least not since I started, have we had the executive committee members this involved in a budget. I think it went extremely smoothly. There's certainly areas that I think we can improve on, and we will look to do that. But having you at the table as we're going through your individual committee assignments and departments, I think really helped to make it much smoother. I'm sure you noticed I intentionally did not come to your committee meetings to let you as the legislative body do your business. And I think we learned some lessons from that we'll take. But I think at the end of the day, because of that, your engagement in the process, it went much smoother than I have seen in other county executive counties. So thank you for that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, people are who we're most focused on and what the impact to them as individuals are. And what you see is what you get. We are putting our money where our mouth is. Our highest priority continues to be a safe and secure community. Almost all 90+% of the dollars in new levy that we talked about just a moment ago, 90% of those new dollars are going to public safety, to a safe and secure community. Maybe more importantly, to the pocketbook of individuals in the midst of recession, it's about a 2.4% reduction in the impact on their pocketbook on their property tax bill. Of course, that'll get sliced up and diced up different ways because of how assessment process works. But from what we can control, we're reducing slightly. Then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this because we worked at it so hard and it was so controversial, including during the election, and that is the Parks Fiscal Sustainability Plan. This budget makes your parks sustainable off of the tax levy for the first time ever. And I think that's something worth noting, that team, Jamie and Deb and Paul, and the list goes on and on. That team has done, and Eric Hyde, they have done an amazing job of not only achieving the sustainability of the park system, but completely changing the way that they think about how parks look and feel and operate in Washington County and what they're for, and how they align with our mission. I know there's controversy surrounding how we did some things, but I think that at the end of the day, the product speaks for itself. Our use of our parks is higher than arguably it's ever been. The amenities that are being added, some of you here were at the Sandy Knoll Dog Park grand opening. They speak for themselves. The beer gardens that are happening, folks are actually, compared to when I got here in 2014, to where we're at today, people are actually in the parks. They're excited about them. It's fun to watch, and it's been fun to see the team over there do some really cool things. So those are really some of the highlights to address the question during the public hearing directly. There's a major shift that has happened that I think we're all learning through, going from county administrator to county executive. I think it's worthwhile to acknowledge that the position 6-7 months ago was one that worked for the 26 of you, and today is one that works for 140,000 people. Managing the gap between 26 supervisors and 20 department heads is different than managing the gap between 140,000 people and an organization of our size. And so there's been a learning curve to that, first and foremost. But second, a couple of things have happened in the midst of COVID that some of you, particularly on this side of the Diaz, have been very involved with, not the least of which, excuse me, is the transition that's happening with Washington County Fair Park. And what's happening with that right now in real time is we're transitioning into a much more hands-on role out there, which is going to pull our community relations and development director out of the executive's office entirely. Now, historically, that position has not shown up in the county executive or county administrator's budget. It's been a position that was strictly in the central services or parks budget. In reality, Jamie, that position, has been doing communications for the last couple of years while also doing some of the parks functions, which I think has actually helped with things like Parks Fiscal Sustainability Plan. Now moving Jamie's position, even part-time, over to focusing on the fair park and getting that to a successful place like she has done and her team has done with the Parks Fiscal Sustainability Plan, removes half of an FTE out of the administrator, now executive office, and into that function, which is essentially a new function. And so taking the time away from this office is a huge shift. That's one. Two, and I think it was addressed in the comments, is the sharing that the county clerk's office has done with our office. Mary Schlitt has done an awesome job in the couple of years that she's been in my office. You'll remember before Mary was there, I had a full-time person in that position. I'm a tightwad, and so I tried to handle it with a part-time position. Now, between Jamie leaving and elevating the county executive's office to what I think you asked for, and if you didn't ask for it, you got it anyway, which is us engaging the community a heck of a lot more than we did before. I think it warrants and necessitates some full-time help in that regard. And so while on paper, in the county executive's budget, it's a part-time, and it's really not even the county executive's budget, it's really in the county clerk's office budget. But when you walk into the office, you would see a part-time person. Only one part-time person is leaving. In reality, it's two part-time people who are leaving and the equivalent of one full-time person. And therefore, replacing that with a high-level executive assistant, I think, is important. I can speak in a ton of detail because I just did 4 interviews over the last 8 hours with executive assistant candidates about what exactly that role is and why I think it's important and how the strategic priorities that I'm laying out will be achieved if you wish to hear that. At the end of the day, if you look at the results of this budget to the taxpayer, I think you can't argue that we're not getting the bang for our buck, not just in the executive's office, but in the county as a whole. And so with that, I will not continue to ramble, but I'll take any questions that you might have. And of course, Margie can answer more detailed questions.
Supervisor Bossert.
I think you answered one of the key questions about the new position, which is where that other half FTE comes from. And it really comes from the new work we have in being more involved in County Fair Park and working to make that a more effective situation for the community as a whole. So hearing that, I think I'm more comfortable with that change. The other question I had was about Samaritan and the potential rebuild. If that goes through, is that going to be part of the 2021 budget, or will that be part of 2022 budget? And do you anticipate that the tax reductions would offset any increase from Samaritan, or would Samaritan exceed that?
Let me try to answer those in sequence. First, the project itself, whatever the project ends up being, public-private, the Health and Human Services Committee just talked about this, whether it's public-private partnership or a new building or we're getting out of the business, that will transpire over the course of 2021. What you'll hear about and see about in the next several weeks is Matt will be really focusing the majority of his time on that project. And I expect it'll take all of 2021. As Matt does that, we'll begin succession planning for him to retire again, and then replacing that position. But it will, all of 2022 will be consumed with Samaritan, whatever's next. We know one thing's for sure, it won't be the building that we see across the street. So that's the project. The expense, I anticipate, will not come until 2022 or possibly even 2023. I'd like to say that it'll happen in 2022, but I think there's too many dynamics of where we're going exactly to tell us. For example, if we get out of the business altogether, there's an unwinding period where we're going to have to kind of transition out of that business. And where do all those folks go? Just as one example, I don't think that will happen, but it's possible. So at the end of the day, I see 2022's budget where you're going to start to see financial impacts, financial results. That being said, in 2021, you're going to be making decisions that will dictate. So for example, if we build new, say we do a $20 million project, you're likely to be approving the project, approving the borrowing in 2021, which you probably aren't paying on, at least not principal, until 2022 or 2023. So although the actual dollars and cents on a spreadsheet and in a budget aren't going to be seen until 22, you will be making those decisions in 2021. Does that answer your question?
I think you touched on pretty much all of it.
The first one. Do you want me to try to answer the second question?
Yeah, although I know there's a lot of variables. I know 2 months ago,
yes.
we were presented a framework that suggested a $20 million building that would have a much smaller footprint than the current building, going from 137 beds to 50 for skilled care and 30 for assisted living.
Yes.
In that range. And it sounds like there's some other possibilities in the works that are being explored as well, which is
That's right.
great. I definitely don't want to get out of the business. I think a lot of my constituents want us to stay in this business. They want our residents to have a place in Washington County where they can go to. So for what that's worth. But as far as the budgetary impacts, we're really looking at 2022. If we did the 20 million project as it was discussed at the county board meeting 2 years ago, would that essentially offset the planned tax cut for 2022, or would it exceed that?
Let me just take one step back and answer part of the second half of your question originally, because I think it'll help inform the second question you had. I anticipate that if we do a major building project, the principal and interest payments for that major building project will be paid for by the county. Maybe not entirely, but a large part of it at a minimum will be paid for by the county, meaning you will be raising the property tax levy and likely the tax rate in order to pay for that. And my expectation is that will go on for 20 years, that expense. If it's a public-private partnership, the devil's in the details of what that partnership looks like. And obviously, if we get out of the business, the devil's in the details of what that looks like. That being said, I think what you're likely to see in the next couple of years is the county trying to find a way for us to keep the expense to the county levy as low as possible and yet provide this the service locally. I don't know if that really answers your third question.
I think it answers it as best as we can at this point. So, yep, thank you.
Supervisor Mahalik?
Love this thing.
Thank you. Oh, jeez. You mentioned that in your statement that we had somebody leaving. I think she's in charge of parks and that. Now, she was leaving your department, not. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that she wasn't actually leaving.
That's correct. She's not leaving the organization. She's leaving the executive office.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure. Talked to her today and it would have been alarming. You know,
No, she's not
we-
leaving.
we-
As a
we gotta
matter of fact, literally, that's why I mentioned the Parks and Sustainability Plan. Our conversation, mine and her conversation was, I need you to do what you did with the Parks and Sustainability Plan for the Fair Park.
Okay. No, that's good. I enjoy that. I obviously, you know, with Hartford, there are a couple of things she's working on and I don't want her to leave. So
Me either.
thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think we shouldn't minimize what the Parks Department has done to become to get off the levy, to be an enterprise fund in and of themselves. We gave you guys, all right, do it. You guys, we're not going to give you any funding. You guys find a way to do this. Be self-sustaining, and oh, by the way, make the parks better. And you know, it's almost an impossible task that that they completed, and kudos to that team that did that. So long time coming, and boy, they did it. It was a daunting task that they completed. So thank you guys for that. George Schleif.
Thank you. Filling in the rest of the story with Jamie, do we backfill in parks with a position or partial position? Or do the people there now fill that spot?
So Jamie will still historically, basically since I moved Jamie from the assistant to the county administrator over to central services, she's always had this part-time function at parks and part-time in administration or now the executive's office. This move simply takes that part-time in the executive office and shifts it over to Fair Park. So there's no loss per se on the park side.
She'll still have a presence in the park department.
100%. Oh yeah. Yeah. And actually the logic is that I see synergies between what Fair Park does and what the park system does, and quite frankly, what Shower Arts and Activity Center does. And I think the longer Jamie's in the middle of all of that, the more you're going to see all them complementing each other and feeding off of one another. I essentially see it as a giant ecosystem, and they get really strong from feeding off of each other.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, can I just
sorry,
ask a question?
go ahead.
Can I just ask you if Supervisor Gall's concern was addressed? I guess I'm not asking if you agree or disagree. I'm just asking, did I adequately address your concern? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, seeing no further discussion, we'll vote on this. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, Brad is on the hot seat now with the annual report.
Page one. No, no, if you have any specific, if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
Any questions? Awesome job again. As usual. It's a well-oiled machine working over there.
We're doing well. Thank you very much.
You do.
My pleasure. My honor.
Okay. Seeing there's no further discussion on that. Next meeting date, is November 18th, 2020, back at 4:30 PM. We're hereby adjourned. Okay. Wake up now, Dennis.